Well, howdy. Welcome here once again to the Double M Farm. The pond construction project is done for this year, and I've had some questions about the trencher, how it came out of it. Did the Harbor Freight trencher survive the 3-month pond build, which was, if you watched any of the pond construction on the channel, it was definitely more than this thing was designed for. I mean, just based on the name, it's a trencher. That's what they're designed for, to dig a trench. Bury water lines, bury electric lines. We branch them out and dig stumps with them. Then we go on to other things and digging ditches, cleaning out ditches and roadways with them. We do a lot of things with them. I say we, all of us owners of towable trenchers. We dig things that they really weren't designed to. If this thing was designed to do more than be a trencher, not just this one, but any of the towable trenchers, if they were designed to be more than a trencher, they would be called a towable mini excavator. But that's not what anyone calls them. That's not what any of the people that build them call them, because that's not what they were designed to do. But us being human and stingy and cheap, we buy as cheap as we can and try to make it perform like an expensive machine. And by golly, if you take your time and do it right, it will perform like an expensive machine. So did the Harbor Freight trencher, Little Red, as we affectionately call her here on the homestead, did she survive the farm pond project? The short answer is yes, she did. What did we break? Well, if you watched any of the videos, you know this cylinder here, the boom cylinder, started leaking. So I had to shut down the project for a day and take it apart, replace the rings. I got to paint that too. I scuffed it up, taking it off with a pipe wrench. I didn't have a spanner wrench, and I used a big pipe wrench and scuffed it all up. So I got to repaint that before it rust too bad. But I replaced the O-rings, put it back together. It was less than an hour job. Man, it was a super easy job. Easy cylinder to work on. And one of the great things about this machine is the cylinders are all the same size. You can take them off, move them around, even the one under there. If you go on the Harbor Freight website to order a cylinder, there aren't 4 different numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just one cylinder. They're interchangeable. That was a great way to design it, and I'm sure most of the other ones are probably designed the same way. I'm not sure, but if they are, it's really neat. Makes it simpler. But anyhow, replace the O-rings. I can't say that was because of the big pond project. That could have happened at any time. It just happened to happen while I was digging the pond. The bucket, a lot of people talk about the buckets being weak and breaking. In case you don't know, I'm in almost the end of my 4th year. We'll soon be going into my 5th year with the Harbor Freight trencher. And that bucket's as straight as it was the day I bought it. And I have really done some massive digging with it. I'm in the foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains with nothing but hard clay, granite, rock. Well, if you've seen the videos, you know I've done some hard digging. I did lose that tooth. The pin came out and that tooth came off. Have a video of that. I found it with a metal detector and went up to the shop and got a new pin and replaced it. So I wouldn't consider that a break. But that did happen during the pond project. None of the other pins, let's see, this pin right here quit taking grease. The pin that was here quit taking grease, but I had ordered some spare pins from Harbor Freight a month or so back, and when I tried to grease it during the project, this pin would not take grease. It had gotten so packed. Boy, it's oozing out now. I got it greased so well, but it had gotten so packed with mud that I couldn't get grease to go in. So I just pulled the pin, put in a new pin, and kept going. The pin I pulled is in the shop soaking. I've been soaking it in various degreasers and other detergents to try to get the mud out of it so it'll start taking grease again, and then I'll just keep it for a spare. What else? Did anything else break? The only other thing really that I broke was, if you've seen any of my videos, you know I made these sleeves. Well, I didn't make them. It's 4-inch square steel tubing, and I just cut them about a little over a foot long and welded one there, and that's how I store my outriggers. And that one's fine. You'll notice this one's gone, and you'll notice I only had it welded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 places. And the way I broke it is one day while I had stopped digging to grease, had the boom up, and I was going to swing the boom around so that I could get to the 2 grease fittings back here. Well, one of my fittings is missing. I just stick it in there and grease it, but that's another story. But when I swung it around, I didn't realize, I didn't stop to think, I had the outriggers in their storage. I had stopped and was going to move it. And I had the outrigger in the storage, so it was sticking up like that. This piece right here was sticking up like that. So when I swung the boom without paying attention, it hit it, and just the hydraulics are strong enough to just break that off. My welds weren't strong enough. I'm no professional welder. I can generally make it whole. I don't necessarily make it pretty. But when that hydraulic hit it, it snapped it off clean as a whistle. So I've got it in the shop. I'm going to grind it down, grind the paint off, and weld it back on, and then repaint it. So that actually broke, but that wasn't the machine's fault. That was my fault. The motor, never had a problem with it. Never had a problem with the hydraulics. I keep my hydraulic fluid clean. I have not changed that filter yet. That's still the stock filter, and it's 5 years, almost, well, 4 years old. So I definitely need to get that done. You can get those from Napa. It's a Volkswagen filter. If you run up to Napa and give them the number that's on there, tell them you want a replacement for Volkswagen filter number so-and-so. I can't remember now what it is, but they'll give you a Napa Gold filter that works perfect. The motor, the engine, the Predator engine never failed me during the entire 3-month project of building the pond. And the only other thing that it didn't break but came close, I guess you would say, was this outrigger, which would be in the storage sleeve if I hadn't broke it. I did bend it very slightly. If you'll look, it won't even hardly show up on camera. There is a slight bow. Don't know when it happened. I know it happened sometime during the pond project, because it wasn't like that before I started the pond project. But during most of the pond project, this thing stayed muddy. So I didn't notice it until I pulled it back up here to the shop and hosed it off. But you can see, hopefully, right there is a slight curve, a little bit of a bend. And I know a lot of people have welded gussets and bracing on here. I've never done it because I've never had the need to, because I've never even come close to bending them. I always listen to the machine, and if it starts grunting and groaning too much, I back off. And I've never broken or bent anything until that. And I'm telling you, if you didn't watch any of the pond build, you can go back and look. I did some hellacious digging with this thing. So, did the Harbor Freight Trencher, i.e. Little Red, survive the pond build? The answer to that question is 100% yes. And I'm letting her rest right now. I've got her cleaned and greased up. She's resting because I'm getting ready to put her back to work before the winter hits too hard. It's November here. I've got a washout in my road right there where this catch basin is running over and crossing the road during a heavy rain. And I'm going to redig that catch basin out and bury some pipe. I've got it laying over there. I'm going to bury it across the road and let it come out on the downhill side so it won't wash the road out. And I'll be using the trencher and dumpy, the little mini truck with the dump body to do that project. I'll try to get that on camera for you. So that is the result of the towable trencher. And yes, it did survive the pond build. So I appreciate you joining us here on the Double M Farm, and I look forward to talking to you again real soon.